Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing a Yorion Commander deck in the Explorer format. Now, Commander is in quotes there because you can't actually do that, but we can fake it by having a Yorion Companion and a 99 card singleton deck following a color identity and things like that. So, is this something you should do? No, but it's something I want to try. So, we are definitely making some power level concessions by introducing this much inconsistency. But it just seems like fun. I play a Yorion for paper commander and I have a Brawl Yorion deck, so it's just fun. I decided to try it. And yeah, so it's a 99 card singleton. Essentially what we have is a one-shot commander that's already taxed for 3 mana because of the companion nerf. So I'm not going to go over every single card, but we have different classes of cards. I have a number of cards that when they enter the battlefield, search up a plains. And then, a few permanents that flicker, such as Charming Prince. And a number of cards that when they enter the battlefield, draw a card. There's an assortment of these between blue and white that you can choose. And have a number of these. So you just want to get like critical mass, cast Yorion, flicker a bunch of these, get a lot of value, and just sort of eventually grind out your opponent. Also have a counter spell suite, negate Dovin's Veto, just a few efficient counters in there. And yeah, that's the main idea what's going on. We have some other very useful things to flicker, like Skyclave Apparition, and Wandering Emperor can be really sweet because you can activate its abilities at instant speed as long as they enter the battlefield that turn. So you could really go wild with Wandering Emperor and Yorion. Have quite a lot of Wraths. This deck plays pretty well with Wraths because you can hide all your things and then essentially just Wrath away Yorion, and then all your other stuff will return. So Doomscar and a number of other things. And top end, we have some cool stuff. So like Torrential Gearhold can flashback things. Dream Trawler is just really strong. I like that card a lot. And then some big, Agent of Treachery to steal things repeatedly, Cure or Best the Sea God to make a bunch of Krakens and tap your opponent's things down. So that's the idea. And then we can play Commander in the Explorer format. So yeah, this is, like I said, this is something I just wanted to try. It just seemed like a fun idea. And we'll see how it goes. And yeah, let's go check out the games. All right. Looks like a nice hand to start out with. Have to see what we're playing against, but an early farm hand will definitely be in very nice play. Okay, not an opening we see too often. The 2-1 pilot. Portable Hole is looking already very nice. So I'm thinking vehicles or something at this point. I'm seeing the pilot. Have a few options. Decide just to prolong the game and stop taking as much damage. Allows us to also play a tap land right now. Got some expendable blockers coming up. Okay, Birth of Elitis. That's sort of a confusing follow-up with the Birth of Elitis. But then when you see Ginger Brew, it's making me think artifacts and enchantments. So decide between the farm hand and the Spirited Companion. Decide just to guarantee the land early on by grabbing the basic plains. So Ornithopter, get the 0-4 wall. And here comes All That Glitters. Love this card, no stranger to playing it. It's fun playing against it. Okay, so they've activated Ginger Brute. We have no opportunity to block. Already in extreme danger. Fortunately, we got Subtle Wreckage, so hoping that they go all in and that we can just whammy them with Subtle. Okay, Iron Apprentice. And Mashiko's Reign of Truth. So as it stands, we're in major trouble right here. Fortunately, we got Subtle. Okay, so we have to just crack Fabled Passage, use Subtle Wreckage, and feeling a lot better now that all that glitters is gone. And we're just reducing the artifact enchantment count as well. Now, I'm not sure if I agree with the choice of Birth of Miletus. It's just such a defensive card. I know it can temporarily be 2 for the artifact enchantment count, but it's just otherwise it's a defensive card in an otherwise very offensive deck. So I'm not a huge fan of it in the style of artifact aggro that the opponent's playing. Now at this point, we're just trying to gum up the ground a bit more, and we have multiple counters up right now. Fortunately, the opponent doesn't have any evasion against us. Another Mashiko. Go ahead and just let it go. I actually, honestly, just clicked through it too fast and maybe should have countered it. But didn't really feel in that big a danger. So at this block, we can, before Comet damage, use Teferi's Time Twist to redraw off Spirited Companion. So Companion returns, we get a redraw. Cyclone Summoner is looking great until we see Agent of Treachery, which is even better. So Cyclone Summoners are get out of jail free card, if things start going horribly wrong. Decide to set up the mana for either of those 7 mana plays in the future. Deciding whether to shock that in, decide the life is important, and we have a soft counter. Oh no, we have the clock, so we got both counters up anyway. Okay, so Mashiko flips. Iron Apprentice gets boosted. The attack in. And we just block away with the 1/1. It's possible to pay some mana and flip it over. We're looking beyond that at this point. Also, I'm still not countering stuff. With the Cyclone Summoner, just have not been scared of what they're playing. So just sort of keep letting it all go, even though we can keep countering things. But this, all that glitters on the Apprentice, you can see I'm considering the counter. It just makes it a juicier target to steal with Agent of Treachery. And we have a good number of artifacts and enchantments as well. So I decided to just let it happen, and we'll just take the most souped up creature they have, which is the Iron Apprentice. And that does 2 things. It gives us a strong creature, and it shrinks their artifact and enchantment count by a little bit. So feeling pretty great. Alright, so they have 2 4/4 Mashikos and a wall. Alright, all that glitters. Now that makes it quite massive, but it doesn't have evasion, so we can just put the Spirit Companion in front of it. Which has done a lot of work for us. Okay, so I'm thinking, alright, do we need a Cyclone Summoner? But then I realized, wait, now would be a very strong Yorion turn. So, to decide to make sure the auto tapper doesn't undo us here. So go ahead and bring Yorion to hand and use Yorion to flicker both the portable hole and the agent, notably, and then also the midnight clock, just to allow us to hold up our soft counter. It means we have to start over on the counter, on the time counters, I believe they are, but I think it's worth it to hold up the soft counter. So you hold, considering the attack, but realizing that we want to keep the Iron Apprentice around. So portable hole lets us grab the smaller Mishiko, and we can steal the larger one. And then we pass. Things are looking bleak for them. We got massive creatures, and they'd seen enough. All right, next hand. Looks pretty great. Depends on what kind of start we're facing, but we got some mana development. Really light on interaction. Untapped blue-white shockland from the opponent. Semester's End is doing nothing for us right now, so we go ahead and bottom that. Otherworldly Gaze. Every time you see that, it's likely that it's Greasefang. It's very efficient at setting up the graveyard. Okay, Raffine's Informant. And we see Parhelion hit the bin already. And they're just operating way too fast for us with our 99 card singleton deck. And just go ahead and play Birth of Meletus and hope they don't have Greasefang, because there's not much else we can do. Would have loved to have like a soft counter or something on 2. But here's the Greasefang, and that's game over for us. That's just too much power and toughness. Alright, next game. Very medium looking hand. Not looking great against what our opponent's trying. Arena's been very buggy lately, so the audio gets increasingly distorted. You'll notice that also our fox pet is like tripled in size. So Arena's just sort of freaking out at this moment. So apologize for the strange audio. Okay, so feel pretty sad that the portable hole, is not usable in Robber the Rich. Now we've spewed it off. And against Brett, we're just trying to prolong the game, just keep surviving. So decide to just play Spirited Companion and see what we can do. Okay, so the Tolarian Archmage is nice. They snatch Settled Wreckage from us, which is quite unfortunate, because it'd be very strong against them. Light up the stage. Okay, opponent ultimately just passes. 2 mana up against a red deck, suspecting they have Bone Crusher Giant. But go ahead and just decide to play Baron. It at least makes them recast Robber. Okay, Bone Crusher takes down Baron. Okay, Robert comes back. And they manage to snatch Dovin's Veto from us, which is actually a very devastating hit, because it's very strong against us. And now they'll be able to, as long as Robber's around, basically hold up Dovin's veto against us on their turn, which is not great. Okay, so our life total is already very much under assault, and we're just moving too slowly compared to what they're doing. We get finally a second blocker, draw another card, and just have too many tap blinds. So Dream Trawler is nice, and that can absolutely turn the game around for us if we can survive long enough. So Semester's End is a great card. I don't think we'll really be able to effectively use it. So I decide just to snap off the double block here. It gets rid of our blink targets for Semester's End, but we're just taking so much damage. There is potential for a blowout with Bone Crusher, but I decide just gotta suppress the damage. The opponent just lets it go. So that threat is eliminated, but we lose all of our potential Yorion value with those permanents. And so they opt just for card efficiency, just to use our spell to bring back their creature. And we're in a bit of a problem now with these only tap lands that we're drawing. So Absorb on top would be nice if we had it in our hand at the moment. But these tap lands are just going to put us, behind for Time Wipe, behind for Dream Trawler. So we're looking to maybe possibly counter a creature, but then here comes Chandra Dressed to Kill, which is about the worst possible thing for us. So an incredible play by them. We cannot counter it. It triggers Prowess, pings us, and then they fire off another thing we can't counter with Light Up the Stage, which draws them into some more burn, which triggers the Prowess again. And so that Essence Scatter is just sitting there useless. Yeah, and so that Chandra Dressed to Kill was just absolutely incredible for them that turn. Just shut the door on us immediately. I think had it been almost any other spell, we could have survived and maybe even won with just untapped Time Wipe and then Dream Trawler next turn. But at this point, we can't deal with Chandra, so we're dead. Okay, interesting hand. Some fairly powerful cards like Ledger Shredder, Charming Prince, Wandering Emperor. So feeling decent about this hand. Would definitely need more lands. Okay, blue-white tap land. Could be any number of things. Just fire off the Ledger Shredder. Maybe can get some value off it. So the opponent decides just to get rid of it immediately. So we're short on lands. Decide to just pass. And so I'm trying to decide whether to crack the clue before Narset, but then I realized I can flash in the Commando to just take down Narset. So I think that's a better play here, even though we are hurting for lands.
Meditate and prepare.
Okay, so they find a Wandering Emperor. You can hear the arena audio freaking out and playing like multiple soundtracks at the moment. So we grab another Plains. We already see some double Plains cards in our hand. And play the Cathar just to take down the Narset. And trying to think of what to do. Oh yeah, so first I thought this was an untapped land, which would have slammed a Teleportation Circle to effectively untap our 3/1 to protect it from Wandering Emperor. But as unfortunately a tapped land on our turn, so take the opportunity here to draw a card with the clue. Okay, so don't draw a land, but draw something that gets us a land. So we have a number of options here. Almost far off the Elite Garbage, a little worried about counter spells. Decide the safest thing to do is play the farmhand. That just gets us a land for this turn. Hopefully it resolves. Okay, so it does resolve. So that gets us a plains. And with that resolving, now we can flicker it with Charming Prince and get another land for next turn. So went pretty well for us being able to hit this turn's land drop and get next turn's land drop. Decide not to attack because just opens us up for Wandering Emperor. They play it anyway and just create a samurai. And we get a new plains. Opponent sends in with the samurai. And just decide to block it, just to try and clear the way for an attack on the Wandering Emperor. Okay, so they down tick again to make a new samurai. Still have a lot of mana open. The Mage's Attendant is nice because the token it creates can force spike an instant or sorcery. So decide just to send them both in at the Wandering Emperor and just try and take it down. However, they are prepared. They tuck the Charming Prince, block the farmhand, and so the Wandering Emperor survives another turn, which is not great for us. And a little awkward mana-wise for like double spelling. Decide just to play the Elite Guard Mage. And so there's a bit of a sequencing error there. Probably should have held the land. It would have been much better to play the tap land this turn. Okay, so opponent is definitely on blue control. And having seen Narset earlier, and now having seen Commit Memory, we could see what they're doing. They're trying to Narset wheel us and lock out our hand. So could have possibly had 7 untapped mana this turn. So with a little bit of a sequencing error last turn. So ultimately decide just first of all attack Wandering Emperor, see what happens. Alright, so Wandering Emperor down. Now I really want to flicker the Elite Guard Mage. Okay, so they let that happen. That lets us get more life, more cards. And trying to decide what to play. Wandering Emperor does no good against Samurai tokens because they have Vigilance. So trying to see if we could sneak in a Teleportation Circle. And opponent lets it resolve. They just cast Memory Deluge. Now this is an interaction that I think I would probably get wrong if I was playing this in paper. Thank you for the Arena Rules Engine for helping us sort this out. I was hoping there was some way I could get the Guard Mage back to flicker a Teleportation Circle. The problem is to go on the stack, it needs a target already. And the Guard Mage would not have returned from the Charming Prince at that point in time. So I don't think there was a way to have it all here. These interactions do get confusing though. Because they play another Narset. That puts us on high alert because we see the memory sitting in their graveyard. It also doesn't help that they just fished up an absorb. So really am paranoid about Narset. Narset needs to die this turn or else we're in big trouble. Because if they fire off memory, Narset's passive is going to prevent us from drawing more than one card. So go ahead and lead with Mage's Attendant. I know it's a juicy target because of like the little force spike, and that'll be annoying for them to deal with. And that lets the thing we really want to resolve happen, which is the Exclusion Mage to clear the way to take down Narset. So it bounces the token, and now Narset, we could take it down with attacks. So feeling all right, especially, Teleportation Circle now finally gets to flicker Elite Guard Mage. So feeling pretty great about how things are going. Doomscar is unfortunate. Essence Flux. So if we had one of the flickers that returned at end of turn, like Teferi's Time Twist, that'd been excellent. But there are still some shenanigans we can do. I'm trying to figure out how to work it. So I end up flickering the Charming Prince because its flicker ability does return at end of turn. And that would allow us to save the Elite Guard Mage. Okay, an opponent sees this and decides to pitch and use March of Otherworldly Light to prevent our flicker and kill all our creatures. So they are prioritizing not allowing us to keep that guard mage around. So there's a number of options here. I decided to go with the fairly mana-efficient one of attacking with Hall of the Storm Giants. Maybe I should have just played Wandering Emperor there. Not entirely sure, but it hits them for 7, and they don't have... It's just a difficult creature for them to defend against. Essence Scatter's not looking great in this matchup. Decide just to fire up the Hall again. They could have another March, which would be a very clean answer, but they don't. So getting excited seeing their life total fall to 11. Okay, here comes Torrential Gearhulk. So Essence Scatter does turn out to have a great target. So feels amazing not only countering such a huge threat, but actually finding a use for Essence Scatter. However, then they drop to Fairy. And honestly, this is where the beginning of the end happens for us. So they tuck our Teleportation Circle. Now here's the question. Do we attack Teferi or do we attack them? I'm not sure what the correct answer is, but I decided to attack Teferi just to shut down their value engine. It was very tempting to try and put them to 4 life though. So go ahead and put Yorion in hand. And in retrospect, that was probably a bad move, knowing they have memory. Anyway, so they take that opportunity to fire off memory, and we lose our Yorion into our deck. Okay, so they play land. Now it's a question of what do we do? Do we deploy our hand? Do we attack with Hall? Ultimately decide to try and draw more cards and get more options. So we found Guard Mage again. And looking at what I could play that I could still hold up the soft counter. Founding Conundrum, not really going to do much against them. It's just a useful permanent to flicker with Yorion. And just to get more power and toughness on the board, I decided to play the Regulator even though there's nothing of theirs to tap down. So in order to play regular and have the soft counter up, have to play an untapped land here. Okay, so do not like the prospect of them having a full hand. Okay, so they find another Teferi. Decide that is just too problematic, and so go ahead and use Make Disappear, and need to activate Casualty on that in order to have a chance of countering. Okay, and so Teferi does get countered. To play Sunset Revelry and get full value out of it. Okay, Absorb is pretty nice. Sunset Revelry is really bad for us because that just makes our Hall of Storm Giants not super useful. So decide to use Deputy Detention to clear the way of the tokens as just a nice, clean answer for hopeful future Hall of Storm Giants attacks. So allows us to smash in for 9 damage right here. But opponent has just a lot of incidental life gain. Okay, they pass. Unfortunately, now they have their own Hall of the Storm Giants up, so don't have great attacks because of that. So decide to switch creature lands and activate Cave of the Frost Dragon. And that allows us to attempt to attack in with 5 power worth of flyers. Okay, so they go ahead and fire off March, taking down our creature land. Oh yeah, sorry. Attempt to counter with Absorb. They fire off Memory Deluge, digging for a counter, at least presumably. Okay, so don't find a counter, but find an alternate way to get rid of our creature land and gain some life. So that did not go well for us at all. Of the various tap lands we have, I play the one that can sack to draw a card, because we're getting sort of flooded and need some more action against them. Very devastated to see Field of Ruin hit the battlefield for them, and another Teferi. Field of Ruin is just a very clean answer to our Hall of the Storm Giants. So things are looking bleak for us at this moment. Not only that, but that untapped, they get to they just have so much mana. So trying to determine how to attack, knowing that they definitely not attacking with our creature land, knowing they have Field of Ruin. That's just going to be a waste of mana. So send both creatures at the Planeswalkers, hoping for the best. Okay, so they decide to take down our hall. And this game has been a grind thus far. It's fun to battle against the control, but their deck is geared to go way longer and way over the top of the kind of things we're doing. So it is an uphill battle. So they use March, take down the Guard Mage, and protect the Wandering Emperor from being taken out. We lost all our creature lands. We have Castle Ardenvale, but that's just not doing a whole lot here. So play our tap land. We could run out Solemn Simulacrum. So have a ton of mana. Would kill for like a Sphinx's Revelation or something. Not that that's likely to resolve against them, but that would be nice. Yeah, so facing down an active Teferi with not much action is a big problem. An opponent has a lot of Memory Deluges, so they're going to keep their hand stocked full of action. And our Subtle Wreckage is not looking too impressive at the moment. Let's go ahead and decide to sack the Skybridge Tower to draw a card. Okay, Skyclave is nice. Agent of Treachery is incredible. But with 5 cards in hand and multiple Memory Deluges cast, it's just not looking great for us. Even just like one counter spell in our hand right here would just help push something through. So decide to go ahead and just attack. I'm surprised they don't fire up their creature land, but we managed to finally take down the Wandering Emperor. Get an extra card with Solemn Dying. Unfortunately, Teferi's out of reach for Skyclave, so decide just to go for it here. Just counterspell check them, see if they can stop what we have. And they have it. So, which is really unfortunate because would have really liked to take the Teferi. So, speeding up the rest of the game at this point to 3 times speed because that Agent of Treachery is basically our last hope. And so we stuck around for a bit longer, but it's just sort of an agonizing constriction. So we keep fighting, but there's not really much we could do with that Teferi ticking up, and not many ways to pressure it. So decide to tempt them into activating Hall of the Storm Giants to hopefully grab it with Touch the Spirit Realm. But they have the Dovin's Veto. So we had the counter for their counter, but of course they had the uncounterable counter at that moment. Just desperate to try and stop them. So we're able to attempt to counter Narset, but they have the Dovin's Veto flashback off the Gear Hulk. And they find another counterspell, and they untap their land. So you could see that things just went downhill. We fought the good fight, but it was effectively over when the Agent of Treachery failed us. Okay, so still valiantly battling, like maybe hoping that the Ledger Shredder could do something, but the opponent has all the answers they need. You can just leisurely activate Memory Deluges and things like that, and depressing to see our own Hero of Dominaria get looted away right there. But yes, at that point, eventually gave up. So on to the next game. See another blue-white land. Could be control, could be another Greasefang variant, or maybe even blue-white birds. Okay, so getting some PTSD here, seeing Rafine's informant tossing Parhelion into the graveyard. Not feeling great about that. Have already seen this exact scenario play out earlier. So this time we do have a March of Otherworldly Light up. So we'd have to pitch half our hand, but we could take out a an early Greasefang. But they go ahead and Thoughtseize us. So feels amazing. And yeah, they definitely take March there because that's our best defense against what they're trying to do. Okay, so we find our own Rafine's informant. And there's just not anything we can do, so we just go ahead and play the Saga just to try and do something. But yeah, if they at any point slam a Greasefang, we're a goner. The opponent finds another Thoughtseize. Takes our Wrath. Plays Underdog. So we're getting aggroed out even without the whole Greasefang Parhelion combo. So contemplating what to do. Decide just to discard a land and it'll just come into play untapped. Sorry, come into play tapped off the Saga trigger. Might have been able to play the Mana Rock ahead of the Informant there, but wanted to keep options open. So we do have like the Time Twist to like block Flicker the Informant, just trying to keep stalling. So they go ahead and fire off the removal, and the Time Twist is not unknown to the opponent, so we go ahead and just attempt to save it, and they have another Ray of Enfeeblement. So opponent has all the tech for the white decks, like Angels and stuff, with that, and puts us in big trouble. So we do get a great blocker, but it's just not looking great for us. So put Yorion in hand. Fortunately, if we do get the block, we get tokens. The opponent has Rafine, so that is a big problem. Not only for the counters, but also for the selection. So I'm hoping to block the smaller creature and then try and stay in this. So opponent pitches 2 lands. We're feeling okay about our chances. And then here comes the bounce spell. And that's game over. So that was unfortunate because an untapped land there would let us use a Cyclone Summoner. So just an agonizing defeat right here. Opponent played it extremely well, and our sort of clunky commander deck couldn't handle the assault they were laying down. All right, next game. Who knew playing Commander and Explorer would be so hard? But it turns out it's not super easy. Okay, so go ahead. We have multiple sagas we could lead with. Decide to grab the land. So we need lots of mana. Though the Modern Age is going to be excellent for us. Okay, Wildwood Scourge is not a creature I'm used to seeing in Explorer, but already indicates we have an interesting matchup. Yeah, reading to make sure I understand what it does. basically, if you put counters on non-hydras, then it gets that same number of counters. So they play Monk of the Open Hand. And we could see, okay, they're a +1/+1 counter deck. But they have some really sweet things going on. So Guiding Light puts a counter on the Monk, also triggers the Monk. And all the while, the Hydra is picking up that same number of counters. So just a really awesome interaction the opponent has going on. And then their land puts another counter. And so already our wall is pretty useless. With the Wrath in hand, go ahead, just use it to soak up some damage. And opponent has already spiraled out of control. I mean, end of their turn 3, they have 2 4/4s. So you usually want to hold off on Wrath, but especially with the second one in hand, really just want to hit the brakes on what they're doing. But opponent has some sweet synergies going on. Heliod is not great. It's hard for us to deal with, and it's very good. And then 1/1 Stone Coil to follow up. So at this point, go ahead and cast the Modern Age. And not really anything profitable to flicker, so go ahead and get rid of the Essence Flux. Play a tap land and pass. So we're hoping to get up towards Cure, Best the Sea God, and maybe steal away the Heliod as we like wrath away their other stuff. Is the plan. Sparring Regiment is extremely strong, but our soft counter doesn't do anything at this moment. So opponent has like, value +1/+1 creatures, and then like a learn package that goes with their +1/+1 counter theme. And so they go ahead and search up some artifact / enchantment destruction as one of their lessons. But already Heliod's doing work, gaining him life, adding counters. Trying to decide the counter. Go ahead and just decide to discard the soft counter. It's just, and we might be able to find a spot for it, but we just really need the lands. And I don't want to get rid of any of the lands or the spells. So they create a small fractal creature. And the reason they do that is because they can add a counter with the Hall and still activate Lifelink on Heliod. And the Sparring Regimen gives it some more counters. So already they've built up some big threats. So now it seems like a great turn to just to Wrath once again. And the nice thing about Time Wipe, it lets us return our Saga and just replay it. So nice little synergy in our 99 card deck. And go ahead and decide to discard the land because we have enough mana for Kiora, Best the Sea God. At this point, trying to tempt them into using their enchantment removal because I want Kiora to remain intact for to be flickered with the Yorion. So I'm really hoping they just destroy the Modern Age. The opponent's being very patient. Now, interesting, we draw Hour of Revelation. So it doesn't destroy that many of their things, and it destroys one of our things. But I think it's a great play here because it just shuts down. It really sets them back. They have no threats anymore, and that's enough for the opponent. Okay, so that's Yorion Commander in the Explorer format. Yeah, that was pretty fun. I think the deck did all right. There's some things we're like really wishing we have, like in Commander and Brawl, you have a lot of 2 mana rocks, which are just not there's essentially not any that are explore legal. So things like that really help to power out Yorion. The fact that we only get one shot of Yorion from our quote unquote command zone hurts as well. The fact that it's already taxed for 3 mana hurts. But it was still fun, and honestly could still compete in certain matchups. So definitely allows for a lot of variety of gameplay due to the singleton nature. There's one thing I noticed after the games that I did not include. That's the deep dwelling. So it's like an additional teleportation circle. So this is a pretty huge oversight. This would have been powerful, but I mean, who knows if we would have ever even drawn it in the over the course of the game. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about playing Commander and Explorer. Should we build other quote unquote Commander decks? But yeah, I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a great day.